In the ever-swirling tide of royal intrigue, a new rumor has swept across social media like wildfire. Posts claiming that King Charles III has awarded formal royal titles to Michael and Carol Middleton, the beloved parents of Catherine, Princess of Wales, have ignited fierce discussion and curiosity. The suggestion that this quiet couple has been officially honored for their steadfast support of their daughter as she steps more fully into her destiny as future queen. It's a romantic notion, one that evokes images of humble beginnings rewarded, of family bonds being recognized with regal gratitude. But when we pull back the curtain of hearsay and look squarely at the facts, a very different picture comes into view. To date, no announcement, neither whisper nor word, has been made by Buckingham Palace confirming any change to the Middletons' standing. Major broadcasters like BBC News and respected publications such as The Guardian and Reuters remain silent on the matter. The official royal family website offers no such revelation. In truth, this story has no roots in verifiable reality. So how did this narrative take flight? Maybe it's the emotional pull, the idea that the Middletons, who once ran a modest party supply business, might now be woven into the noble tapestry of the British monarchy. Perhaps it's the public's desire to see loyalty, sacrifice, and quiet dignity honored in a tangible public way. But as inspiring as that vision is, Britain's system of honors is steeped in tradition, formality, and strict criteria, and the facts surrounding it are crystal clear. Who are Michael and Carol Middleton? To understand the weight of this story, we must return to the real lives behind the headlines. Michael and Carol Middleton have long chosen a path of discretion. They are not courtiers. They hold no official role within the palace walls. And yet, through their daughter Catherine, who has evolved with stunning grace into the Princess of Wales, they've become tethered to the heart of Britain's royal future. The Middletons met while working at British Airways. Together, they raised 3 children in the English countryside and eventually launched Party Pieces, a business born from Carol's creative spark and her desire to celebrate life's small joys. Their story isn't gilded or born of aristocracy. It's rooted in everyday English family life. School runs, holidays in Bucklebury, and afternoon teas around a kitchen table. And it's precisely that normalcy, that groundedness, which many believe gave Catherine the poise and calm that has made her a beloved royal figure. But despite their daughter's immense public profile, Michael and Carol have remained deliberately out of the spotlight. No grand interviews, no tell-all books, just the same couple from Berkshire, navigating a surreal world with humility. As of July 2025, they hold no noble ranks, no courtesy titles, and no ceremonial roles. They are British citizens, private individuals who have chosen to keep their lives anchored far from palace corridors. How do royal titles actually work? It's tempting to think that royal honors can be granted on a whim, a gentle nod from a monarch, perhaps, or a gesture of goodwill. But the reality is far more complex. In Britain, titles such as Duke, Earl, or Baron are deeply rooted in a centuries-old system. They are granted by the sovereign, often on the advice of the Prime Minister and formalized through legal documents known as letters patent. These aren't ceremonial flourishes. They're legal instruments, steeped in history, and rarely handed out lightly. These peerages are typically reserved for senior royals or those who've rendered outstanding service to the nation. Think war heroes, scientists, artists, or political figures whose contributions have reshaped the national story. Then there are honorary designations, knighthoods, damehoods, or appointments to revered orders like the Order of the British Empire. These honors celebrate excellence across the arts, charity, medicine, education, and more. Yet even these are bound by a formal process and publicly recorded in places like the London Gazette or announced as part of the New Year or birthday honors lists. If Michael or Carol Middleton had been recognized in this way, it would not have been a secret. It would have been front-page news. There would have been ceremonies, citations, perhaps even a gentle curtsy or bow. But there has been nothing, no announcement, no honor roll, no public citation. What drives the public fascination? Perhaps part of the public's yearning for this story to be true stems from a deep admiration for the Middletons themselves. For years, they've been seen as the emotional bedrock behind Catherine. A princess often praised for her composure, her warmth, and her down-to-earth nature. Royal watchers often speak of how Catherine's upbringing in a loving, stable household contrasts with the tumultuous early lives of some other royals. It's easy to imagine King Charles quietly respecting that, perhaps even privately grateful. But in the world of monarchy, such sentiments don't automatically translate into status or rank. This is a realm governed by symbolism, yes, but also by law, tradition, and protocol. The bond between Catherine and her parents. And yet, titles aside, the connection between Catherine and her parents runs deep, and it shows. Those who follow royal life closely will remember the quiet presence of Michael and Carol at key milestones. The weddings, the christenings, the Platinum Jubilee. Always supportive, always present, but never drawing attention to themselves. It's this kind of invisible strength that speaks volumes. Carol, in particular, has been seen as a key figure during Catherine's transition into royal life. Whether it's a comforting phone call before a major engagement or offering a stable home for the grandchildren when things get overwhelming, her role may not be public, but it is profoundly important. And it's not just Catherine who benefits. Prince William is believed to be close with his in-laws. Some reports suggest that the warm, informal environment the Middletons provide offers a welcome contrast to the formality of royal life. For George, Charlotte, and Louis, it may be the only place where they can just be children. Running through the garden barefoot, sticky from ice cream, surrounded by grandparents who see them not as heirs, but simply as little ones they adore. Could honors ever be granted in the future? Is it impossible that Michael and Carol might one day receive some form of formal recognition? No. Unlikely, perhaps, but not impossible. If such honors were to be granted, they would follow a well-documented path. An entry in the New Year honors list, a mention in the Prime Minister's office, a publication in the London Gazette. This is how the British system works, with transparency, with process, and with purpose. But if or when that moment ever comes, it won't arrive by rumor. It will arrive with ceremony, with dignity, and with the full weight of royal tradition behind it. The fascination with the idea of royal titles being extended to the Middletons goes beyond tabloid buzz. It's about something deeper, something quintessentially human. The yearning to see familial love and behind-the-scenes sacrifice recognized in the grand theater of monarchy. After all, who wouldn't want to believe that steadfast parents, who guided their daughter from village schoolgirl to future queen, might one day be honored with a lasting symbol of gratitude? But in the British system, emotion doesn't dictate protocol. The monarchy, for all its pomp and pageantry, operates under a disciplined framework. It's an institution built not only on spectacle but also on structure, one that has endured centuries of social change, political upheaval, and public scrutiny precisely because it adheres to that structure so fiercely. So even if King Charles III feels an unspoken admiration for Michael and Carol Middleton, a possibility no one would be shocked to learn, there's no precedent nor public pathway for turning that sentiment into an official title. Private life by deliberate design. It's worth pausing here to appreciate just how carefully the Middletons have navigated their unusual role in the royal constellation. They could have cashed in long ago on fame, on access, on status. Instead, they've stayed rooted. In an era where private lives are increasingly made public, the Middletons have done the opposite. They've made quiet choices, chosen modesty over media deals, retreat over revelation, and in doing so, they've become an unexpected model of how to handle proximity to royalty with grace. There's no PR machine behind them, no calculated leaks, just an enduring decision to support their daughter from the wings, not the stage. Their company, Party Pieces, was never turned into a royal marketing tool. Even in moments of financial struggle, they didn't lean into their royal connection for salvation. When stories of their business facing challenges emerged, they simply carried on, without drama, without playing the royal card. A tradition unlikely to bend. There are moments in royal history when honors have been bestowed on those outside the bloodline. But these are rare, symbolic, and often serve a broader national or political purpose. For instance, former prime ministers or esteemed artists might be offered life peerages. In exceptional cases, individuals with close advisory roles to the crown may be honored for their decades of service. But the parents of a royal consort? That's not just rare. It's virtually unheard of. This is not because the monarchy lacks sentiment. It's because it thrives by separating sentiment from structure. To break that boundary now, to extend noble titles purely because of personal family ties, would be seen by many as politicizing the honors system, undermining its integrity, or inviting claims of favoritism. And in a nation as finely attuned to issues of class, privilege, and fairness as the United Kingdom, that's a line even the most popular monarchs are hesitant to cross. Public perception versus palace reality. Of course, in the court of public opinion, things operate differently. People see the photographs, the warm smiles between King Charles and Carol at royal events, the friendly glances, the familial ease. And from there, imaginations bloom. Assumptions follow. Maybe there was a quiet title given behind the scenes. Maybe it's just not been announced yet. But the palace is not a place of hidden gestures when it comes to formal honors. If an honor is granted, it is documented. Period. This is why the rumor mill can be so dangerous. Not just because it spreads falsehoods, but because it invites people to believe in a fantasy, only to later be let down by reality. And that emotional swing, hope turned to disappointment, can damage public trust in institutions that rely on stability. The truth that doesn't need titles. Ironically, the real story of the Middletons needs no title to be profound. They raised a daughter who stepped into the global spotlight with extraordinary poise, who stood at the altar of Westminster Abbey not just as a bride, but as a symbol of modern monarchy, who now walks beside the future king with strength, empathy, and purpose. None of that happened in a vacuum. It happened because somewhere in a red-bricked home in Berkshire, two parents taught their children resilience, warmth, and the value of remaining grounded no matter how high the winds blow. That's not just admirable. That's noble in the truest sense of the word. And yet, the possibility remains. Could King Charles one day decide to break from precedent? He has already shown a willingness to modernize, to trim down the working royals, to shift focus onto environmental causes and inclusive values. If he ever felt there was merit in acknowledging the quiet service of those who support the crown from the sidelines, perhaps the Middletons among them, he could theoretically do so. But such a decision would not happen in silence. It would be a deliberate, publicly recorded act. The media would know, the nation would know, and the historical implications would be debated for years. Until that day comes, if it ever does, Michael and Carol Middleton remain what they have always been. Proud parents, steady supporters, and perhaps the monarchy's most understated allies. Legacy beyond titles. Some legacies aren't etched in gold or sealed with a coat of arms. Some live in how a child carries herself before the world, in the unshakable support she draws from her family, in the laughter shared behind closed doors, and the strength she finds in knowing she is never alone. Catherine, Princess of Wales, stands tall in part because of the foundation laid by Michael and Carol. And no peerage or title could better articulate the worth of that gift. So as the headlines fade and the whispers dissolve, perhaps the most royal act is the one the Middletons have already mastered. Loving without limelight, guiding without glory, and standing firm in the quiet, knowing that sometimes the most lasting honors are the ones you never ask for.